Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Live with Roger Hanson. Today, I am doing Roger's real-time talk show event, and I am wanting to bring up the topic of the judiciary system, mostly here in the United States. Now, the few things that I have the topic of I've listed in my description, I believe, but let me double check on that with my yeah, here it is. It's in the description for Rumble. If you guys want to check that out, you're more than welcome to. I've also posted it on Discord and in Minds Chat, so you guys can come in if you want to, and you're more than welcome to join me. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and send out some invites to. I think I already did. So, if you guys want to come in, you're more than welcome to. And I can post those in both Minds and in Minds Chat and in on Rumble in my chat there too. So you guys are more than welcome to show up. So just click on that link and you're able to get there. Now, the judiciary system or the judiciary, which it's also referred to, is the system of courts that interprets and applies the law in the name of the state. Now, that's one thing that I want to point out. It interprets and applies the laws in the name of the state, not the people. Okay, it has to do with the state, and that's it. Excuse me. It's supposed to be we the people, don't get me wrong, okay? But you need to understand that they're talking about the state and they're talking about federal governments when they discuss these things. So when they interpret the law, they're interpreting and applying the laws in the name of the state, okay? Now, that's something that I did want to mention and bring up because it's very important to know. And that's what I wanted to say before we get going, okay? Now, with that being said, the judiciary also provides a mechanism for the resolution of disputes. That means whenever you have a dispute with another person or the government has a dispute with you, it provides a mechanism for the resolution of that dispute. So you can go into court, you can make your case against any person or the government. The government can do that with you too. Now, that brings me into the next part of what I want to talk about, and this is the separation of powers, okay? Now, under the doctrine for the separation of power, the judiciary generally does not make laws. They don't make laws. That is a plenary. That's a plenary fashion when it comes, or that's done in a plenary fashion, which is done by the legislature, okay, and that means Congress. Our government split up into three branches. That's the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. So what you have is the judiciary that interprets the law and they apply the laws in the name of the state. Then the legislator, which is Congress, is the one who makes laws. So you have the separation of state that's going on there, all right? That is also an important subject to bring up, all right? Then after that, what you have is you have the executive, branch, which is the president, the White House, and the executive branch of the government is the branch that enforces the law. Now, it's important to bring all this stuff up because you have to understand that this is the way that the government works. You have those three branches, and when it comes to making laws, it's the judiciary's responsibility to interpret and apply the laws. To create the laws, it has to be through Congress, okay? And then after the laws are created and they're interpreted and applied, it's the White House, the president, and his cabinet's responsibility to enforce the law. Alright, so that's basically the way it works here in the United States. Now, over in England and all these other countries, I have no idea how they do it because their parliaments are a lot more complicated than what they are here in the United States. They have different, they have more parties for one thing. Here in the United States, we only have two. We have three, actually, if you think about the Libertarians, or four if you think about the Green Party, but those two don't have any like major seats within the Congress, and they can't even be in debates during elections because they can't get the amount of support that they need. So you do have those, but they're smaller. Now, let's see here. Now, like I said, the executive branch is the ones that are responsible for enforcing the law. Now, this brings me to the next thing that I want to bring up, and it's the economic rights when it comes to laws that are being passed according to the Constitution. Now, the thing is it's like the other day we were in chat and somebody brought up something that was very important that I thought of mentioning because they mentioned a video that's out. It's called Law of the Land, Know the Corporate Laws of Contracts. Okay, and it was done by David Icke. Now, whenever you go into this kind of topic, you hear David Icke talk about it, and you hear a lot of other people talk about the contract and how people are just basically owned, you know what I mean? Like we're possessions and stuff. And it's hard for people to understand that. And in politics, they call it the straw man theory, or the straw man fallacy, I believe. Something of that sort. Like we're just straw men, rather, basically. But the same people who say that don't really do the research and understand that it's more than that. We are actually defined as a person, and under the law they do have an interpretation called, you know what I mean, which is the law. Hello, how you doing? Can you hear me? Hello. But yeah, they do. All right, can you hear me, Mark? Yeah, I think he's on Jitsi, but I'm not sure if he can hear me or not. Let me see here. Alright. Can you hear me? Mark. Mark, can you hear me? Let me see real quick. Alright. He's muted, I think. Yeah. Can you hear me, Mark? Mark. Yeah. Okay, so basically what it is like you have the whole thing with the Supreme Court and things of that nature. Now, I put references into my post that I did the other day, which kind of goes into this, and it has to do, the first one that I made has to do with the Indian reservations and laws that were set down pertaining to Indians and their laws on the reservation compared to that of the state, which is where the reservation resides into. And the question in these cases was brought up because what it concerned was two Indians getting into an argument, and both of them ended up getting into a fight, and one killed the other, and they were on Indian reservations, okay, or on an Indian reservation. So the question is does the Indian who killed the other one, does the laws of the state pertain to them, or is it the federal government that has jurisdiction over that case? As well as the question of can the Indian reservation, as its own sovereignty, basically try this Indian for the crimes that he committed on their property, and when it came down to it, I was reading through that, and I've read this before. It was a while back, but I didn't catch on to it the first time. They interpreted it pretty well, where as you read down through it, you'll see where it says that for the Indian reservation to try this individual by themselves, it has to go according to taxing or taxation. When it comes to Indians paying taxes, then they can be on a board that, or they can be involved in the judiciary system where they can try this individual. If they are exempt from paying taxes, then they don't qualify to be like in a jury or being a judge or anything like that. And I found that pretty interesting. So it kind of got me thinking about that. That's actually a pretty good topic, whenever I stopped and thought about that, I mean, on the reservations, well, especially in today's world, you'd think that they should have the right to freaking try their own criminals, I don't see where the federal government has to step in and do the job for them. It just doesn't make sense to me on that fashion. Now, I can understand maybe back in 1880s, back whenever their laws came into play, but today I don't see that as being, an issue. They should be able to do that. So later on, I do want to get more in depth on that when it comes to the reservations and finding out how the laws have changed, if they have changed whatsoever concerning that. And then again, it also comes down to if the reservations even want to have their own court systems because of the size of it. I found it also interesting too that they made it to where it's basically hands off when it comes to reservations and concerns with the states, because the majority of enemies that the Indians did have was at a state level. It was usually the white man in that surrounding area that basically were considered the enemies, to the Indians. So I do understand that, keeping as much control out of the state's hands as possible when it comes to these reservations. So I did see that as being something that was important. It also made me think of other territories that are controlled by the United States. Like we have the Marshall Islands, we've got Puerto Rico, and I think there's a few others that we have control over, and it makes me wonder what's going on there too, because especially in the Marshall Islands, if anybody knows anything about TJ Maxx, them and Marshalls, they're two big grocery or shopping chains that are here in the United States, and Marshalls and TJ Maxx are ran out of the Marshall Islands. Now, it's weird how you hear a lot of people talking about how labor is in these third world countries, and how sweatshops are being set up to sell things cheaper. It's weird hearing that when about Marshalls and TJ Maxx, who's actually got their factories and warehouses set up in the Marshall Islands, and they're doing the exact same thing on an American territory, on the soil, American soil, which, believe it or not, they are a territory of the United States. So I do find that kind of odd. When I read through that kind of got me thinking, and it's gotten so crazy with Puerto Rico to the point where they actually are thinking seriously about becoming their own country and breaking away from the United States altogether. So those are some things that I think are important to discuss, when it comes to the court systems and things of that nature. Now, the next topic that I do want to talk about is the budget of the judiciary. Okay, now in developing countries, the budget of the judiciary is almost completely controlled by the executive branch of their governments. Now here in the United States, it's not as bad as what it is in most developing countries, but we do have a certain amount of corruption when it comes to that. Now, whenever I'm talking about the budget of the judiciary, I'm talking about proper national wealth distribution and government spending, and basically constitutional economics. So, according to the Constitution, they're supposed to do things in a certain way that goes according to the Constitution, and that's pertaining to wealth distribution and government spending, how much the government's allowed to spend and how much they're supposed to distribute. So that's one thing that is a way that a lot of politicians are able to corrupt our government. Corruption of the judiciary, especially when it comes through budget planning and having various privileges for both state-ran organizations as well as organizations that are in the private sector. When you look at the IRS, okay, the IRS is not a governmental organization. It's actually a non-governmental organization. These are basically henchmen that go out and force people to pay taxes voluntarily, of course, And even with our tax system, they say that it's a voluntary tax system. You voluntarily, pay your taxes. It's up to you if you want to do it or not. Now, if you choose not to be, if you choose not to, wait a minute, I just did a test live stream today. Okay. But yeah, if you choose not to pay your taxes, then the consequences, that's no longer up to you, see. But you voluntarily choose to or not to pay your taxes, okay? But you don't have any say over the consequences if you choose not to. So that's the one thing that got me, I get a kick out of the whole term voluntary tax system because it's pretty much a joke. The Federal Reserve, that's a non-governmental organization. That's not government whatsoever. A lot of people don't even know that. This is an organization that basically runs the economy of the United States, but it's a non-organizational or non-governmental organization. They set that up like that, just like with the IRS, because both of these organizations are unconstitutional according to the laws of the United States. So they created loopholes to where they could get away with this and be able to set up organizations like this. And it gets even more trickier when it comes to Congress too, because they start taking advantage of their plenary powers. And you need to understand what plenary powers are, okay? The plenary powers are basically given to people which grant unlimited power whatsoever, okay? Like the president, he can grant pardons for people, groups, corporations, entities, anything he chooses, all right? That's plenary powers. So you got the president who has it. Then Congress has unlimited powers to pass laws, levy taxes, they can wage wars, and they can arrest anybody they want. All right, they have unlimited powers to do that. Now, they also have plenary powers when it comes to judges. Now, I found this out later on, but like when a judge sits at the bench and he has that robe on, he can make any decision he wants to as a judge without any consequence whatsoever. And how that's established is and how that's important is the fact that, like, while he is portraying himself as a judge on the bench presiding over a case, he is exempt from any kind of lawsuit, okay? And now you can try to sue him, but you have to petition the state or the government to do that, and they have to say that it's okay for you to do it. But if the state or the government doesn't feel that you have the right to sue this person, then it's done. It's over. Okay? So that judge can sit behind that bench and make whatever decision he wants, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't sue him for it. You can't do anything like that because he's acting as a judge. That's another form of plenary power. It's pretty deep, and I don't want to get too much into that as much as what I want to about these entities and corporations and groups that they give extended powers to. Okay, now Congress can create charters of duplicity, and that means that what they can do is they can extend their plenary powers to organizations that aren't a part of Congress, and they're called entities, organizations to corporations. They can extend their plenary powers. Okay, so they can extend their powers to freaking pass laws. They can extend their power to levy taxes. That's where the IRS comes from. And they can also extend their powers to arrest people. That's the ATF, groups like that. So instead of them actually doing their jobs, they're sending their work out to these private sectors and allowing these people to do the job that they're supposed to be doing. And they're also handing them over plenary powers. It's just like what we were talking about the other week with child welfare laws. Okay, like these groups, which are non-governmental, are given plenary powers to investigate families. Now, this goes pretty deep because, they go out and they investigate the scene. Sometimes they have people with cameras who go around and they'll take pictures of your yard. They'll take pictures of the neighborhood and stuff like that. And if you have a problem with that and you try to sue them for doing that, you can't do it because they are covered with these plenary powers, which prevents anybody from suing them while they're doing their job for this non-governmental organization. Okay, and those responsibilities that, again, the court system is supposed to be responsible for, they're pushing them out to the private sector, to where Catholic social services are involved, all these organizations that have counselors and people that'll drive the kids to visitations and back, stuff like that. All of these people are being they're given these plenary powers that the judiciary has just because they're doing these jobs. So it gets really, really intense when you start reading into this. You start finding out that there's people in our government who freaking have the power to ruin your life, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop them. There's been cases where people who have businesses, because they haven't paid their taxes, have literally had freaking SWAT teams come in and raid their homes or their businesses, and they've been put in jail because of tax problems. You know what I mean? And you can find it all over the place on the internet. If you don't believe me, just check it out. It's pretty amazing. And all of this is because Congress and the judiciary system and the executive branch, they can create charters of duplicity and allow these entities, organizations, groups to share their plenary powers, and they can also set rates and prices for for us when it comes to paying our electricity. The Department of Energy, um, they they extend their plenary powers to them to where they can just set any price they want and you can't complain about it. So if you've got a high electric bill that's getting outrageous, it's being done by an organization that has complete and absolute power, and you can't contest it whatsoever. They have complete say over it, and they're exempt. And they're exempt from review, which means that Congress doesn't even do a review on them. They're just exempt from it. So they just do what they want, and Congress doesn't even review them to make sure that they're doing their jobs or they're not being excessive, that the numbers match up, So for me, I think that is some of the stuff where our government is overextending itself, and I seriously, to this day, think that when it comes to our government, we have a misunderstanding of our relationship with our government. All right, our government is not our friends, guys. They were never intended to be our friends. When you go and support the government and try to say that the government is your friend, they're there to take care of you, what you are doing is giving up your rights. You're giving up your power. The more power that the government has, the less power you as an individual have. Okay? And it's vice versa. The less power that the government has, the more power as an individual you will have. So it's really good, to frickin' have a government that does everything for you, so you don't have to contend with it. All right? You can turn around and you can just say, well, that's the government's job. I don't want nothing to do with it. It's too complex. It's too tedious. I've got so much stuff that I need to do. Well, just understand that next time you have issues with your taxes, or you have issues with your utility bill, or you have issues with anything of that nature, you're the one that caused that problem. Don't go around blaming everybody else because you're having a bad time when it comes to what the government's doing. Because if you don't stand up for yourself and you don't start trying to do something, then you are the cause of the problem. It always ends with us. Okay? It's our responsibility. We are the sovereignty. That means we are the ones who are the bosses over the government. It's not the government being our boss. We are their boss. We tell them what to do. So if we don't tell them what to do, they get to run rampant and create laws like this and manipulate the Constitution so that they can get away with things that they really aren't allowed to do. But yeah, for me, I'd like to say, check into plenary laws. It's really important to check those out. Last week, I tried to get into child welfare laws, and it really wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. Don't get me wrong, I got two really good interviews out of the deal, but my intentions of doing that episode had absolutely nothing to do with being, upset fathers or non-custodial parents who basically it had nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? I was wanting to talk about serious matters that involve these laws that are basically ignored because, like, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens out of that situation. Nobody wins when it comes to custody battles at all. You don't win, your spouse doesn't win, and definitely the children don't win. People get hurt, all of them do. And the only ones that benefit from that whole situation is these organizations that make money from it. The counselors that get paid, the people that are responsible for supervised visitations that get paid, the judges that get money from the federal government so that they can create more problems for families. They get paid for it. You know, all of these people in the court systems that are doing this illegal activity that they can't even do themselves because it's constitutionally illegal are the ones who are making money off of it. They're the ones that are benefiting, you know, and we are the ones who are getting screwed by it. I mean, there's lives that are literally destroyed because of these organizations, and it just keeps going on, and it keeps going on. And the reason why it keeps going on is because we allow it to happen. You know, we allow these people to happen because, you know what, nobody wants to see the ugliness of that stuff. They don't want to have to deal with it themselves. You know, the police force, they love this setup. You know what I mean? They don't have to worry about domestic disputes or making sure that frickin' kids are properly taken care of. They can just kick that off to some social service to take care of their problems for them. You know, make it easier on them. And, you know, when it comes to government, things shouldn't be easy for these people, okay? Like, I'll watch decisions that are being made in Congress, and everybody gets upset because it's been postponed or the decision has to be made later. And they get frustrated by that, but they don't understand sometimes that's a good thing. You know, some of these decisions shouldn't be made right off the bat. There's some decisions that should take years to be looked at and accepted or rejected. You know, there's nothing wrong with setting something over to the side and waiting and seeing if it's actually valid or not. You don't rush into a lot of stuff and try to hurt, you know, people because of your consequences or because of the consequences of your decisions. So I am running late today. I apologize for that. I was supposed to do this at 10 o'clock, so I was even debating on if I even wanted to get on here and do this episode. I apologize for you not being able to get on here, Mark. I noticed that you tried to get on. I don't know what that was all about. Later on we can straighten that out, but the reason why I finally did it was because I was just talking to Bob Dub the other day, and you know, I was told, you know, it doesn't matter if you're late, you still need to show up, you know. And I'm really wanting to work on being consistent, and being late was bad enough, but not even showing up would have been even worse. So after debating on it for like about a half an hour, I finally decided it was time to get on here and have or do the stream. And like I said, I apologize. This is usually supposed to happen at 10 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time. That's 11 Eastern Standard Time, and over where Mark is at, that's in England, that's what is it, 4 p.m. General Motors time. So we are running quite a bit late. I've been having some issues with taking care of my mom, so my days and nights aren't really all that straight, plus doing this stuff. So I'm having to kind of deal with personal issues as well as doing this stuff. So it's just a balancing act, really. And I just wanted to let everybody know that, and to tell you I did not have any intentions of skipping today. We did skip last week because it was Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I was okay with that. Now, on these holidays that are coming up, Christmas and I think New Year's too, I'm not positive, but I can check. Yeah, on New Year's Eve is going to be one of our episodes, I believe, and I can do that because I'm not Mr. Partier. I'm not out drinking, acting a fool, not anymore. So I can do that, and I can skip the Tech Talk because Tan and Mark might want to go out and do something. So I do have everything set up mostly for the holidays so that nobody has to deal with it. I did the last of my history videos, and this next video that I come out with for gaming, I believe I've got one more video before I call it quits on that one, and none of this pertains to my interviews. When it comes to all the topics that I've done, if I can get interviews for them, I'm still going to do them, still going to stream them and put them on. But I'm talking about like the shows where I get on right here by myself and I go through a topic. Those are going to come to an end, at least until June of next year. They're going to come to an end just for this year, not permanently. So I'll end them now, but they will come back in July, most likely. Yeah, 6 months is July, and I'll start it up again. So that's definitely going to happen again. Besides that, I also am coming out with a new idea for my streams on strangeness and on conspiracy theories. I'm going to start a new series. It's going to be called Into the Abyss with Roger Hansen, and it's going to basically be a mix of all that put together. And the reason why I want to do that too is because I want to get more into like the esoterics, and I mean the teachings out of the text. There's a whole history of esoterica, and I'd love to talk about things like alchemy, and secret organizations, and the schools, so the mystery schools, things of that nature, and kind of go through that, as well as some weird science. Like, we've got a lot of weird science out there, so that's another topic that I do want to bring up, without having to get into the paranormal or anything, just the weird scientific stuff that's going on in the world. And also parapsychology. Everybody is always big on wanting to hear about paranormal, but not too many people know that there's parapsychology as well. I watch a series that's been out for quite a while, and it's called New Thinking Aloud, and it's one of the best video series that I enjoy. I enjoy it. It's a really good show, and that's basically what he does. He goes in like I'm doing right here, and he interviews interesting people, and he has discussions about this stuff. So And that's the kind of stuff that I want to do too. I want to be able to have good conversations and learn what other people's stories are and tell them. So that is all the stuff that I have to say to catch up on what I'm doing now. Now tonight I am going to be doing Tech Talk on Discord. I will be interviewing a content creator by the name, his gamer name is Darker Things, and we'll be talking about editing audio and video, setting up our own videos to stream and to upload onto platforms, things of that nature, how he does it. So it's his interview. With that, I'm going to have two of my friends with me, Rapid Glitch and Disney Magic Zach. They're going to come in and be a part of the panel with me to drill them and get information so that we can figure out how cool it is to edit video and find out actually how hard it is too, because I think a lot of people get a misconception about it. Like, it's really hard work. It's not just, get on here and hit stream or record and be done with it. There, people who really do this stuff get involved with their streams, and they take pride in their work, which, I'm not big on pride, but at the same time, I can see where they're coming from. It takes a lot of time and effort to do it. So if you guys are interested in that, you are more than welcome to show up. That will be at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 11 p.m. General Motors Time. So I am going to just end it there and say thank you if you actually watched this. If you didn't, thank you for actually not watching this, because I really hate getting thumbs down. And I will talk to you guys later.